So this is the new Ford Ranger Wildtrak X. It was brought in with the model year 2024 and it's designed to fill the gap between the Ranger Raptor and the general Wildtrak. It does feature some proper hardware or sort of fundamental changes, including widened tracks front and rear, and Bilstein suspension. You may have also noticed these awesome all-terrain tyres. So they come standard on the Wildtrak X. And then there's some other bits and pieces, including black trimmings all around the bodywork and windows, and then the full electric shutter across the back here. So this, you just push the button on the side and it will roll back automatically. To stop it, you just push the button again and then push it again and it will start coming back the other way. It's a great tray area, very customizable. You've got these little slots where you can put a beam across there or a piece of wood to divide up the tray. You've also got a power socket there, and then these adjustable hooks that slide along the rail for tying down various bits of equipment. The Wildtrak X also comes with the sliding sports bar, so this whole thing will slide across. You can put it at the back if you want to, and that way you can have a nice roof rack area, or you can slide it right to the front of the cabin for a more sporty or neater look. I like the way they've created a lightweight feel for the tailgate with the new Ranger, so that actually feels really light. It's just in the balance and weight distribution, it's still, you know, a heavy unit if you took it off, but just the way they've hinged it, it feels very, well, it feels lighter than some of the other utes that are in this market. Obviously design is a subjective thing, but I think it looks really good. It looks tough. What I like most about it is that it looks proportional. So the front matches the back and the sides and so on. It's not too awkward in any particular area. It's just very neat. Obviously very aggressive and tough, but still very neat and tidy. And in this color, it looks like a toy Tonka truck. I like the white writing on the tires too. That gives it a real sort of 1990s off-road beach feel. And the Wildtrak X comes with the full performance LED headlights and then the front mounted camera, which is washable. So when you hit the windscreen washers, it actually sprays that and cleans it for you. So if you're off-road and you're going through mud, which you probably will be if you buy one of these, that camera gets muddy, it becomes a bit useless. Hit the windscreen washer and it will spray the camera clean. Inside we've got some tasteful upgrades, including the coloured trim there, the orange trim, contrast stitching, and Miko suede for the parts of the seats, and a nicely trimmed dashboard. So it's got this neoprene sort of almost wetsuit material across the top of the dash, more orange stitching. It feels surprisingly premium for this market segment. Some of the trim on the door is a bit scratchy. That's like fake leather across the top section, but then all down here it's just hard plastic, which is fine. More hard plastic there, because if you're, you know, on the work site or something, you're going to be scuffing your boots up against that, so you don't want nice fine leather across the bottom anyway. It comes with nice thick floor mats as well, nicely secured, Wildtrak X labelling, including in the back, and it actually goes across the middle seat there. What I think you'll like about the Ranger is the cabin and seating position. So it feels like an SUV or even a wagon in some ways, because you're kind of hunkered down a little bit just in terms of the door sill and dash level. But at the same time, you're obviously very high up off the ground. So you still get that commanding view, but it feels natural. It doesn't feel like a truck to drive. You can also lower this seat right down as well if you prefer, so then it actually feels like a sedan or a station wagon. You've got full adjustment from the steering column as well, so it goes in and out, up and down. And the Wildtrak X features a fully electric seat as well, so you've got complete adjustment here to suit all shapes and sizes. The Wildtrak X features the full 12-inch touchscreen, and it does feature the updated tech. So the biggest change is these buttons across the top here, including a home button. Whereas before, everything was dropping down and pulling up from the bottom. I mean, the home section is still a sort of drop down, but at least you've got your main apps that you can quickly access or view. It's quite a good screen, very responsive. It doesn't take too long to load. You've got lots of possibilities here. If you push this off-road button down there, it'll also present, see that front-mounted camera. You've also got a rear diff lock, and it will show you just your sort of steering angle and things like that, and it changes when you change the driving modes. So you've got normal, eco, tow, slippery, mud ruts, sand, sorry, get the steering wheel out of the way, rock crawl, and that puts it into low range. And that's it. There's no sort of sport mode or performance mode, but you do have a manual mode for the transmission if you prefer. So just hit that M button on the side. And then you've also got 4 different settings for the drive system. So 2H is just two-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. You've also got 4A, which is for automatic. So a lot of utes on the market in this class, you put them into 4-wheel drive and you can't actually drive them on the tarmac, or you can, but you might break something. Whereas 4A allows you to drive on the tarmac. You know, if you're going for a bit of a tour or something like that, and you're on the dirt a little bit and you're back on the tarmac, you don't have to worry about switching back to 2-wheel drive. You can just leave it in 4A and it'll sort itself out, but still provide you with all the traction that you need. You've also got the 4H mode, which basically locks the front and rear axle, and then 4L for low range. I think Ford has done a fantastic job with packaging this new Ranger, not just the Wildtrak X, but just the new Ranger in general, because it's just, yeah, got so many thoughtful touches, like integrated towing, braking control there, a nice little pad for the passenger to put their phone. It is rubber lined as well, and then a second glove box, wireless phone charging down there, and some ports as well. Not sure if you can see that. You've got USB and USB-C, and then another cup holder on this side, as well as the 2 cup holders down there. Nice big center console box, fully digital instrument cluster as well, and you can customize what you want to view. You've got different settings here. You just push this menu button on the steering wheel. Sorry, I just moved the steering wheel a bit. And you can change what you want to view, basically. So you can have a calm screen, fuel economy, live tire pressures, which is handy when you're off-roading, off-road status, so the diff locks and all that sort of thing, what mode you've got it in, your angles. Yeah, so you've got plenty of different options there. You can also go into the off-road mode, or just without going through those menus. And in the back seat, you've got a decent amount of room. It's not class leading, but you know, they're all pretty similar. Some of them are a bit narrow. Some of them, the backrest is a bit too upright, whereas the Ranger strikes a nice balance. Good amount of leg room and foot room. And then even in the middle row, you've got some decent space, although that hump does stick up like it does in pretty much every rival. It's great to see climate vents in the back, although most of the newer models do these days. You've also got USB and USB-C port down there. So you don't get the same trim on the door as in the front. It's just the sort of vinyl-y stuff, it's just scratchy, but you do have this vinyl section in between, but no orange stitching like on the front. Once you're inside, I've got a decent amount of room. My head's nowhere near the ceiling, and look, I've got plenty of leg room as well. That's in my seating position, but even if you rolled that back a bit, you'd still have a decent amount of room. It does feel comfortable too. It doesn't feel like I'm sitting awkward and upright. It actually feels, yeah, a little bit laid back. Do have a adjustable headrest there, just to give you a bit more comfort. Yeah, I could sit here for a nice long journey pretty comfortably. I guess the only thing you've got to worry about in the back is just the rear suspension. So all utes in Australia come with, or pretty much all, come with a live axle rear suspension with leaf springs. And these types of springs are very heavy duty, so that allows for a good payload. So this has got near 1,000 kilogram payload, but it also helps to provide that maximum towing rating of 3.5 tons. My advice there is, if you're buying a ute, use it as a ute. So put stuff in the back. If you don't need to put anything in the back, then just buy an SUV. You don't need to have a ute, perhaps, if you're carrying rear passengers. If you're towing, on the other hand, utes can be good because they're quite heavy. So it's always good to have a heavy vehicle when you're towing, because you don't want something that's very light at the front being pushed by a heavy trailer from the back. And then lastly, the Wildtrak X comes with the 2-litre twin-turbo 4-cylinder engine. At first I was a little bit disappointed to hear that, but after driving it for a week now, it's not a bad engine. It's very punchy. It's got surprisingly good low-end sort of pickup and response. The only thing you're missing is the top-end power of or the top-end torque of the V6. Not that it has heaps of top-end with the V6, but just if you're towing or carrying a lot of equipment or passengers and you're going up a big steep hill, the V6 will charge up the hill, whereas this, yeah, you'll find that it's using that 10-speed automatic a lot and changing through the gears and revving much more than the V6 does. But anyway, we'll go for a drive now and I'll show you what it's like. Along a country road like this, yeah, the ride's a little bit jiggly, as it is in most rivals, but I think the Ranger offers one of the best ride qualities in the class. With the big balloony tyres, I think it does help as well. So the size of the tyre actually absorbs some of the impact too. But if you're buying a ute, chances are you're going to load it up and then it will fix pretty much all of that. So the issue with engineers, the engineers face, is it needs to be heavy duty. It needs to be able to take a load in the back, but at the same time it's got to remain stable. So some utes in this class might be more comfortable without anything in the back, but load them up and they start to, you know, speedboat along with the front in the air, and it loses stability. So with the Ranger and the Hilux, in my experience particularly, they remain very solid and planted. The D-Max also does very well too. I'll just show you the acceleration and pickup. We'll slow down a bit, no cars behind me. So right down, almost stopped, floor it. So it likes to rev, and it gets through those gears pretty quickly, and you're up to speed. It's just, yeah, it's not as effortless as the V6. Although, in my opinion, the new V6 option for the Ranger is quite lethargic and it's a bit lazy just in its delivery, but it's still, it provides all that torque. So 600 Newton meters versus 500 in this. One of the best aspects to the Ranger's driving characteristics is the handling. It really does handle like an SUV or even a station wagon to some degree. It's just really flat. There's no body roll, or not much body roll. You can see probably see that tipping in a little bit, but it remains really solid as you turn around the corner. So around here, even though it does have the off-road tyres, it's hanging on really well, and it feels natural. It feels like it wants to turn, I think, is the main attraction. It doesn't feel awkward. It doesn't feel like it doesn't want to be here. Very tight corner here. Yeah, it glides in really nicely. Yeah, it feels nice. It doesn't feel uncomfortable at all. It feels natural as you're going around corners. Is it as fun as a sedan or a station wagon? Look, maybe not, but I think the sensation of speed is actually a bit higher. So you might not be going that fast, but it feels like you're going pretty fast, and that makes it feel more fun. So as you're driving around little winding roads and things, it feels like you're actually pushing on pretty good. You might only be going slow, but it feels like you are. So that's a part of the fun, I guess. In terms of fuel economy, we've averaged 10 litres per 100 kilometres, and that's over a distance of 987 so far. But you know, I think you could get a bit lower than that in the real world. So we're, you know, testing this vehicle, performance testing and things like that. It's not a real world representation of how you are going to drive it. Now, off the road, we're not going to be going on anything too serious today, but I should be able to give you a bit of a demonstration of what it's like. Firstly, the corrugated section along here. Yeah, those big balloony tyres are really helping to absorb the little impacts, and it's going very nicely. I don't have the tyres, I haven't let any air out of the tyres. They're still at the standard 38, 40 PSI, what they were before. If you wanted a bit more comfort and more traction for that matter, it is sometimes a good idea to let some air out of the tyres, even if you're just on some mild off-road conditions. And then on the sand, obviously, you want to let them down to even to 15 PSI is often a good idea. So yeah, very corrugated through here. There's not too much vibration coming through the steering wheel. There's a rattle from the door. Oh, that's just my bottle there. Yeah, in terms of comfort, it's actually quite good. I've been through here in a lot of different utes and SUVs, and this is doing just fine. I'll still have it in the two-wheel drive mode, the rear-wheel drive mode, so I'll put it into 4A, which you can do while you're driving along, and it will automatically switch over. It's a bit more bumpy along here, but the Bilstein dampers seem to be doing very well. So what I'm going to do is do a little loop where you come back around, turn out through there, but along the way we've got some mud ruts that we can go through. I have been through here not that long ago, so I know that it's not too deep or anything. We'll put it into the mud rut mode, and that will automatically shift it into 4H, and also turn the stability or traction control off to some level. I'll leave it in the automatic mode as well. I mean, in D. And nice and slowly as we enter the ruts. Very easy. Yeah. Doesn't scrub the diff or anything like that. It just went straight through with no problem whatsoever. The rear diff lock is locked there as well. So the suspension might be pretty tight on the road like it is in most utes, but on rough conditions like this, yeah, that's where it really helps, because you don't want, you know, super soft and comfortable suspension when you're driving along harsh conditions. All right, down this little steep section here, it probably doesn't look that steep on camera, but it is quite steep. We'll try the trial control. So you just use the set button on the cruise control here, and you can set your speed and it will just maintain a nice speed. So I've got it just here at 5 kilometers an hour. I'll slow it right down to 2 kilometers an hour. That's my feet completely off the pedals, and it will just maintain complete stability and control no matter what you're driving across, basically. Might be able to go a little bit faster than that, actually. 3 kilometers an hour. So this works a little bit differently to normal hill descent control. It'll actually go through a flat road as well, a flat section, sorry, and it will provide that power. But yeah, it's also maintaining a good level of stability going down this steep hill. And you can just apply power and it will override the system. Just to give you a bit of an idea, I'll try up the hill here. So we'll set it to 6 kilometers an hour, and it's powering itself, and it's going to maintain 6 kilometers an hour. In fact, we can go a bit faster than that, maybe 8 kilometers an hour. And yeah, it'll maintain that same sort of stability as hill descent control, except it provides, yeah, all that control as you're going up the hill or along a flat section. So this is handy if you're towing, because you don't want the trailer to be, you know, yanking around. You can just maintain a nice steady speed. But it's also good if you're just going through some very slow rock crawl situation where you just need to maintain the speed rather than, you know, have your foot on and off the gas pedal, and which, you know, causes wheel spin and all that sort of thing. So to just maintain a nice steady speed. So I've still got it in mud rut mode. I might just switch it to not sand, not rock coral, not sand, not rock coral. I might just switch it back to slippery conditions. So it's just going to go into 4A, which means if there is slip, it'll direct power to whatever wheel is needed, but it's not, you know, fully tensioned up with the diff lock on and things like that. There's a big rutty section down here where we can test out the suspension a bit. So that doesn't look like a steep rut on camera, but it is quite steep. If you're in a normal SUV, it'll probably scrub out just here. So we'll get out and have a look at that wheel flex quickly. Yeah, so it's plenty of clearance at the back, good departure angle for a ute. This one's got the tow bar fitted, which I'd recommend anyway if you're going off-road, because it's going to hit the tow bar before it hits your rear bumper bar. And then at the front, you've got a very good approach angle. Obviously, it's not too crazy, but, you know, I think a lot of owners are going to buy these and not go absolutely nuts, even though this car or this vehicle could attack more serious conditions. It's just going through this stuff like it's a walk in the park. With it in 4A, it means you can turn around nice and easily, whereas when you've got it in 4H, there is a lot of driveline, you know, tension there. So it will try and, it doesn't want you to have full lock on basically. Whereas in 4A, it'll just free spin a bit more. Going back up here. It's got good flex going over the little ruts. And again, this is quite steep, but it's going to be able to get up here, no problem at all. Actually, I'll get out and have a look at that front approach angle, just so we can see. Plenty of clearance there to get by. The Wildtrak does offer 26 millimeters of extra ground clearance, and the track is also 30 millimeters wider. So I guess you've got to be a bit more careful if you're in narrow tracks, but it just means you've got better stability on the road as well as off the road in certain conditions anyway. I'm just reading the press kit here, and it says the Bilstein position sensitive dampers have been specifically tuned with touring and payload in mind. So that kind of gives you an idea of its direction. It also says it focused on this without sacrificing comfort during unladen driving. We'll go over here. There's a big boggy mud hole. It has been very dry here lately, so it might have dried up quite a bit, but it's usually a nice level of depth where you can just have a bit of fun. So they're doing some logging in the background there. But yeah, this is usually a bit bigger than what it is right now, but we'll give it a go anyway. Yeah, no problem at all. Go back through the other way, but I might actually put it into mud and ruts just to get the stability system turned off. A lot of fun and very easy for it. Interestingly, I can drive at 40 kilometers an hour plus with the rear diff locked. I don't know how much faster you can go until it will automatically disengage, but 40 kilometers an hour is probably as fast as you need to go off-road in conditions where you might, you know, need the mud ruts mode. But yeah, it's interesting that you can go that fast. So this little creek bed is usually got a lot of water coming through, so it's a bit more of a test, but there's nothing there. Okay, so we'll engage that trail mode again, and I'll just set the speed to maybe 6 kilometers an hour, take my foot off the pedals, and it'll take off with a nice gentle start, and then yeah, maintain that speed. There's a big little mound here. So the camera system, you know, it's not super clear or anything like that. It's good. I think it's most handy when you're coming over a steep crest and you're not sure what's on the other side, because, you know, you're pointing to the sky. You can't see at all what's in front of you. But it also gives you a bit of an idea of where your wheels are tracking exactly. So if you want to go into a certain rut or stay on top of a certain rut, you know where your wheels are with these little graphics here. So say along here, I want to stay on top of the ruts. I know to put my wheel wherever these graphics are instead of going inside the ruts. And then again, when you want to clean it, hit the windscreen washer and it'll automatically spray it for you. Hit these ruts going the other way. They are pretty steep, so this is right in there. A few SUVs have been through here and it's scrubbed out the middle. But this is clearing it very easily. Oh, just touched the bottom just then, but that's because I kind of went in a bit too quick. There we go, the new Ford Ranger Wildtrak X. To me, the most attractive features are literally the design. So it looks very attractive with the black highlights, the big tires with the white printing around. Yeah, it looks really tough, masculine, but also a bit refined in that it's well proportioned. The on-road handling, in my opinion, is also very good. For a dual cab ute, I think it's one of the best on-road handling vehicles on the market. That's not really a boast, because these vehicles aren't designed purely for on-road driving, but if you are going to be doing a lot of on-road driving, I think you will enjoy the Ranger more than a lot of the other rivals in terms of, yeah, being able to steer in, not have to deal with too much body roll. It feels comfortable turning corners, so you can take this on a nice winding road off to your camping trip or something like that. You don't have to worry about, you know, going extra slow or anything like that just to compensate for extra body roll, ground clearance and all that kind of thing. Ford has done an excellent job at maintaining on-road stability and even the stable feel when you're behind the wheel. Do you need the Wildtrak X over the regular Wildtrak? Well, it depends. Are you going to go off-road? Because if you are, then this does perform better, purely because it's got bigger tires, more ground clearance. It also comes with all of the technology features inside, like that trail control assist function. And the Bilstein suspension is also very good. If you are planning on modifying it, then yes, absolutely, this could be an intermediate step before you modify it. But if you're going to modify the hell out of it, then yeah, you might be better off starting with the Wildtrak and then going nuts, because otherwise you're just wasting your money on the extra gear here that you'll then remove. It is a bit of a shame that it doesn't come with the V6 engine, at least as an option. I get a feeling that Ford will probably introduce the V6 later on, I think, because demand for the V6 has been quite high. So they might be trying to push this engine to, you know, not get rid of the backlog, but just sell a lot more first and then introduce a V6 later. Perhaps that's just a guess from me. In terms of performance, I've timed the V6 in around the 8.5 second mark. Whereas the 2-litre 4-cylinder, I've timed it around 9.5 seconds in some variants. So this is probably the heaviest variant of the 2-litre engine, because it's got the roller shutter, it's got the different suspension, the big tyres, all this adds weight. It also has the full technology pack inside. All of this adds more and more weight. I've timed 0 to 100 in about 10 and a bit seconds in this model. I'll be putting together the full 0 to 100 video soon and our full written review for more in-depth details. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Now I've got to try and clean this thing.